Hi everybody, welcome back to my Dungeon Boss Priority series. Today we are going to be taking a look at the light heroes. The light heroes are currently lagging behind every other color in terms of total number of heroes. We did recently just have Bobble created here. He was the newest addition to the light hero family, but we are still significantly behind the other ones. Red, green, and blue all have 15 heroes. There are only currently 12 light heroes. So I do expect to see more light heroes created in the future, hopefully to balance things out a little bit as we start getting closer and closer to, the next quantity of heroes. I think it's at 68 right now. Once we start getting up to like 72, 75, 80, I would expect them to balance out a little bit more further. So in terms of the light heroes, I did find some interesting things that came up when I was doing the analysis with it. So we're going to get to that in just a second, but let's start out with the initial assessment here. There's not many people that are going to debate that Kira and Zen are probably two of the best light heroes out there. So now, trying to argue who the best light heroes are is a little bit difficult because they all have some pretty good usefulness, and it's a matter of where do I see them being used and who do I see be used the most often. I'm still going to include Zen in there as being used quite a bit because I still am seeing him quite a bit, more so on PvP defense now than offense. But Leo and Emily probably could be top 4, but in terms of overall usefulness and considered the best, I don't consider either of those two the best. They just have a high level of usefulness in PvP, and PvP isn't the only thing in this game, although a lot of people would argue that it's the main thing in this game. But that's for each individual player to determine. So my top 4 in terms of best light heroes are Kira, Arya, Bobble, and Zen. My bottom 4 are Alex, Echo, Dagon, and Sifu. Now those are not in any particular order. I may have mentioned time and time before, Alex is probably top 3 worst heroes in the game in my opinion. So if I was going to put in order, I would slide Alex down to the bottom. But remember, these are just kind of categorically speaking. So the first interesting thing as far as light heroes go is the lack of epics, and I'm still flabbergasted in terms of why we're not seeing more of a balance with the epic weapons, why we only have 2 light epics versus 6 fire epics. It just makes absolutely no sense to me. So I'm hoping that devs will catch wind of this. They have to know, obviously, that there's a major discrepancy here. So maybe they just can't figure out who they want to epic next, and that's understandable, but just pick someone and whip up some skills. It should be as simple as that. So before this last epics came out with both Squinch and who was the other one? I forgot who the other one was already because I was so upset with it. But I'm expecting an epic on the light side come up pretty soon. My guess, personally, it's probably going to be Zen, Bobble, or Leo, if I had to guess, because they're so used frequently now. So now let's move on here. So availability of tokens is an interesting component with yellow. We see that compared to any of the other colors, there's just not that many heroes that are really that heavily available. I put 2 stars on Echo because out of all of the yellow heroes, he's the only one that really has a ton of tokens available. Black Diamond and Dagon, both are kind of rare in their own rights, but they still do have hero tokens available, whereas almost every one of the other ones are all just heroic summons, or even in the case of Arya, where she's in the shop only for the Aether shop. So some of them also do have tokens in the challenge campaign, like Augustus does have some available, but yeah, in terms of availability for tokens, light heroes just do not stack up compared to any of the other colors. Energy use, we have a couple of good ones here. Kira stands out as being one that has good energy use, and then we have Sifu and Dagon that have good energy use as well. I included Emily on this list also because her second and third skill do have really good energy use. She tends to be overlooked a little bit in terms of total energy use because of her first skill costing 20 on cooldown. I tend to not hold that against her because it's really a one and done anyways. But her other skills, her purge and her heal, are actually pretty good, and that actually bumps her pretty high up in terms of total energy usage. When we look at the traits, the yellow heroes are known for having quite a few traits. So a lot of them actually have 5 traits. None of the yellows except for Augustus have 6 traits. So Augustus actually has the most traits out of everybody on the light side. But a lot of them do have 5 traits. It's possible Bauble might have 6. I don't have him jotted down on my notes just yet, though, because I got him a lot later after I did the initial analysis. So the usefulness of those traits. This is where I find the most interesting thing out of all the analysis I did with all of the colors. The light heroes, they're actually the only heroes in the game that have traits, more than one trait that benefit the entire group, are all light heroes. Not one other color has a hero that has 2 traits that directly impact everybody on the team. So if we just look at these, for example here, if you're curious what those are, Augustus, for example, has a retaliation. So if a demon attacks, he's going to attack back. That directly impacts the entire team. He also can heal the team if he's fully healed. So if he's at full health, he can heal the entire team. Leo, his big deal is he can remove an enemy from the playing field when he kills them, so that directly impacts his team. And he also has the death thing. When he dies, he brings somebody back to life, which directly impacts your team as well. Zen has a buff that goes on to his anybody that he heals. He gives them the impervious trait, and also if he dies, he has the beloved trait, which everybody then attacks. So all 3 of these guys actually have traits that benefit everybody, and add 2 of them, which I found to be extremely interesting compared to all the other colors. Looking at the ones that benefit some, we do have some other ones on here. Notice Leo and Zen are both on there again, so they have a lot of their traits in general are benefiting team members. So if you pick the right team members, they'll obviously be pretty good. Black Diamond has a buff that helps out with skill for other light heroes. So the rest of them don't have, I don't think they really have any other ones. They might have a few, but I think these are the only ones that had other traits that benefited anyone. So where do they stack up? Compared to the most usefulness, it shouldn't be a surprise that Kira, Bauble, and Zen are the top 4 again, because they fit the mold perfectly for what I consider to be a good hero, and they also had good energy usage, they had good traits, good team synergies. Everything about those 3 is just overall really useful. Now the issue with that is obviously Zen, Bauble are both tough to get. Kira's a little bit easier to get than he used to be. In my opinion, Kira may be probably one of the top 3 heroes in the entire game, if not maybe even the single best hero right now. He's about the only hero that I see that is used on PvP offense, PvP defense, all 3 modes of campaign, very hard dungeons, boss mode dungeons, and even the superior legendary boss island dungeons. He's about the only hero that I can see used in every single facet of the game, which will bump him to the list, top of the list of pretty much everybody's list of best heroes. He should be in the top 3 of pretty much everybody's list any way you spin it. Plus he's epic, and he has some really cool traits. I was not surprised to see Arya drop down to the bottom 4, and the reason being is, aside from just being really cool, she is extremely difficult to get, and even if you do get her, she's extremely difficult to star up because you have to get tons and tons and tons of Aether. Now, I've been pouring a ton of the Aether into her myself, and I've actually stopped once I got her to her 4th star because I'm trying to determine if I want to keep spending so much when I could really take the little bit of Aether that I have and actually 6-star a couple of other people that cost significantly less. And as far as her traits go, her traits really only benefit herself. So she's just kind of out there. It's not surprising that she got dumped to the bottom. And actually, her energy cost is absurd as well. She's one of the highest in the game, right up there with some of the casters. So the middle of the pack, Emily, Leo, both of those kind of stayed put. Augustus was also towards the top as well. I think Augustus is heavily underrated. In terms of priority, I do suggest to get him sooner rather than later, he can help you quite a bit through some of the campaigns, because there's certain instances where you just cannot put a price on his Aegis wall, and you're going to find yourself needing that to get through some of the challenge mode. Black Diamond is in the bottom 4 in terms of priority. I don't tend to dispute that too much. She was much more useful as a PvP defender until they redid the PvP into seasons, and she's overall just kind of squishy in terms of regular dungeon usage. I just don't see her being overly viable. So one of her saving graces is her high attack. She does attack pretty well, but she also doesn't take it very well, and she also has relatively high energy costs as well. Sifu just does not get used that much. There's too many other healers. He just doesn't really fit the mold of a healer. He's more of an attacking healer than anything, but he also has weak defense. And then Alex is just kind of there. Not many people are putting a lot of stock into Alex, unless you're running some sort of a construct team. But unless you're running Furnace, Bauble, Alex, and then maybe Dagran, which that team has 0 attack, I just don't see how Alex is going to come into play anyways. So Alex needs to have either Dagran and or Bauble to even be viable, and it's not worth it in my opinion. So until there's more well-rounded constructs and we have a heavy damage dealing construct, then I think Alex will actually start getting some use. So let me know what you think of this list here, if you think there's any discrepancies, or how my top 5 best compare to where they fall in priority. I would love to get feedback on that. As we move forward now from these first 5, we start getting away from colors. I am looking for feedback in terms of which category or which class of hero do you want to look at first. So I'm going to start taking suggestions, and based on what people say, I'm going to actually work on those first. If you have something that falls outside of a class, you just want to compare certain heroes, like you have these 10, of these 10, which ones are the highest priority and which ones are the best, feel free to send me those lists as well. I'll be taking a look at all the comments, and we'll go from there. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them below. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.